Welcome to the first ever Eligible Monster debate over who is the better character, who could possibly win in a fight, who could win if you dated them, whatever we want to do for these versus situations. The fact of the matter is we're going to pit Aerith Gainsborough versus Tifa Lockhart from both the original Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VII Remake. And folks, this is an age-old question, one that the Final Fantasy fans have been debating and continue to debate to this very day. Who is better, Tifa or Aerith? Now, of course, there are numerous factors to take into account as to who Cloud Strife should pursue in a dating aspect or in his party composition, depending on what you're trying to do. So let's have a look at both of our combatants. Born in Nibelheim, Tifa Lockhart grew up next to a young Cloud Strife, although at a young age, the two were not very close. After Tifa's mother died, the young girl was in a state of denial and believed that her mother only traveled over Mount Nibel, and so she set out to find her. Cloud, having a bit of a crush on the girl, followed to keep her safe. After Tifa was injured, Cloud was blamed and told to stay away from her. It was later that Cloud decided to leave Nibelheim to join Soldier. He told Tifa, hoping that it would impress her, and it seemed to work because after he left, she would search the paper and ask passing soldiers about any word of Cloud. As Tifa grew up, she trained in martial arts by Zangan, becoming a skilled monk combatant. After Sephiroth destroyed Nibelheim, Tifa would travel to Midgar and join the terrorist group known as Avalanche, fighting against Shinra. Though she was a strong fighter, she was also quiet and very shy. She struggles to express her feelings and instead focuses on taking care of those around her. After the events of Final Fantasy VII, she would become even stronger and more apt to speak her mind. Now moving over to our other combatant of today, Aerith Gainsborough.
But whatever happens, you can't fall in love with me.
Is almost the exact opposite of Tifa. She's a very outgoing person who is always trying to cheer up those around her. Aerith has no issues speaking her mind and constantly flirts with Cloud when they're talking. She grew up in the city, calling Midgar slums her home. Aerith's mother was the last remaining pure Cetra, and thus Aerith is a hybrid. She has the last remaining ancient blood on Gaia, and as such was captured by Shinra for experimentation. She managed to escape and has been avoiding them her entire life. Living in the Sector 5 slums, Aerith spent much of her time in the church, growing a small patch of flowers that seemed almost impossible within the city. One day, she would happen upon the young member of Soldier when he would literally fall out of the sky landing in front of her. Aerith and Zack would then start a relationship, but he would eventually be taken from her. And that's when a second warrior would fall into her flowers and her final adventure would begin. Okay, so we have two girls, and we have the bare information of their histories. One who Zack has at least been infatuated with since they were young children, and the other that he met in a very turbulent time in his life. Throughout the game, Cloud has a chance to flirt with both girls, and this is where the argument was born. Depending on what you would do in the game, in the original Final Fantasy VII, it would come down to which one of them you would go on a date with over in the Gold Saucer situation. Or you could, eventually go on a date with Red 13, which was always fun because he wouldn't say anything, but that's a story for another day. So since Cloud has the open opportunity to flirt with both girls in the game, let's look at this from an adventuring party standpoint. Now, Tifa is basically the monk who deals a decent amount of damage. She's the third strongest character in the game, beaten only by Cloud and Barret. Aerith, on the other hand, is basically your white mage. She has low strength and high magic, focusing on healing and buffing the rest of the party. As a guy who plays a ton of RPGs, I can tell you that every party needs a good cleric. So then deciding who would be in your adventuring party would come down to what you need in your party for that aspect. If you're like me and you knew exactly what was going to happen to Aerith on your 5th and 6th playthrough, you would just spec Tifa out to be also a white mage thanks to Materia, but that's a different debate for another day. The more damage that Tifa deals is always good, but not having to rely on potions to heal everyone by having Aerith in your party is also a major selling point. So let's go ahead and look at their personalities. Tifa is a quiet childhood friend that you had a crush on, but she didn't seem that into you, and now that you're older, she struggles to tell you how she feels. She's always there for you and also is really big into hitting the gym and working out. Nothing wrong with that. She's also trying to bring you out of the wild memory problems that you're having and eventually Cloud's depression. She fights by your side and always sticks to what she believes in, even if she can't exactly tell you what she believes in. Some have pointed out that Tifa represents childhood love that isn't real once you grow up. She struggles to express herself, which can be annoying at times.
Cloud, you're hurting me.
Aerith is a fun and outgoing girl, literally met one day that you fell out of the sky. She flirts with you and seems to be into you, but it's hard to tell. You can also see that she has a dark past and possible loss of love. She calls you out on your shit and helps you get through the situations. People have pointed to the fact that Aerith is supposed to be the adult, real relationship. That you could say that what her and Cloud had isn't really real. They pass through each other's lives very quickly, with Aerith still holding onto her love for Zack, who was another complicated part of Cloud's life. While Aerith did flirt with Cloud, that was more just being in line with her personality, and less what she actually had a romantic interest in him. Still, other sections of the internet would point to the fact that there really is no right answer, for Cloud loved both women for who they were. Just like as you go through life, all of your significant others aren't carbon copies of each other, and yet the love that you felt at the time was real. Cloud loved both Tifa and Aerith, and really the choice was made for him. Both girls had an effect on Cloud at different times in their lives and in his life. Now we're going down this deep philosophical path. But this is supposed to be about who we would believe would be the right choice for both your party and love interest. And the only way, of course, to figure that out would be to put them both into a steel cage death match. Now, imagine the two of them standing 10 feet apart, facing each other while Final Fantasy VII fight music is playing in the background, each waiting for the other to go. Because we're playing the original one, not the new remake. The new remake would basically just be Aerith shooting from a distance with her staff while Tifa's trying to get to her and cutting around. Trust me, I've actually done that to many of the melee enemies in the arena as Aerith. You can kite them around in circles the entire time. And for those of you guys who don't know what kiting is, it's basically leading your enemy away so that they can't hit you. Since Tifa doesn't seem to have any effective gap closers, she wouldn't be able to get to Aerith in the time that Aerith would just whittle her down. So we have to go with the more accurate and more interesting original battle system, which was ATB, but with them both standing and making selections. Now, Aerith's abilities will truly depend on how you build her, but we're going to assume most people would have built her as a healer in the original system. And with Tifa, it's kind of similar to the same thing, but most people would have built her to be more attack. So she would hit the attack button, launch across the room, beating Aerith with her Fists of Fury. When you wait around a minute or so, it'll then be Aerith's turn. She'll choose to heal, hoping to hold on for a little bit. This will go back and forth for a little bit, with Tifa running in, hitting Aerith, and then Aerith going ahead and healing through it. Until finally, Tifa would punch Aerith in the face just enough to finally drop her. Cue the victory music, and of course, since this is Final Fantasy, Cloud will then spend the next couple of months moping around and occasionally see glimpses of Aerith in his dreams, usually next to another big spiky-headed soldier. Towards the ending of the entire journey, when, Aerith would come back to life to catch the giant meteor coming out of the sky that Sephiroth summoned, she would at that point also basically take a little livestream tendril and kind of slap Tifa, shut up, and just kill her in one shot, because if you have the entire power of the planet, well, yeah, you're gonna win against Tifa. Around our office, this has been a very heated discussion. So after much debate about which battle system we would in the end use, in which direction we would have built Aerith and built Tifa, how we would have had them actually go back and forth, the choice was really obvious, guys. The correct answer is Jesse Raspberry. Have a good one, everyone. If you're still here, I just wanted to ask you guys a quick question. What did you think of this kind of fun back and forth analyzation of both of these characters and how they would, in our opinion, fight? We want to do this for a lot of other characters, but it's a lot easier to do this kind of a video on our comic book channel where there's like a history of what they've done and how they act, and you can look at their power sets very easily. Not as simple when it comes to different video game characters from different franchises and even the same franchise. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of this, if you thought it was a bad idea and we should just go back to doing what we do, which is list discussions and lore discussions, or if you want us to really kind of explore this concept. Either way, guys, thank you just so much for watching and getting to the end of the video, and I will see you next time right here at Eligible Monster.